All right,
Right.
everyone, welcome in. Thank you for your patience. We're getting started a little bit late today because the gremlins are back. Working with OBS and YouTube, trying to get everything sorted. I worked basically all morning up until this point getting ready for the stream. Everything's nice and in order, ready to bring on Martin in just a second. And then it all started falling apart, right? I can't get the audio coming out of the right source. I can't connect my Bluetooth, so we're doing the headphones. Let me know as we go if you have any audio issues. I'm gonna do my best to watch the chat, but have a technical gremlin again on on trying to pay attention to that. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here joining us today. Let's bring in our very special guest. It's my friend and yours, Martin McClean, SGA Gate Builder. Welcome to GateWorld.
Hi, Darren. How's it going? Great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Very well. Uh, I am going to be a little distracted for a moment. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions and then try and uh, make sure that I have access to see our live chat while we're going. Uh,
Okay.
you know what, buddy? I've had designs on doing live streams for a long time, and one of the first things that I thought of when I wanted to do live streams like this every couple of Fridays is to get you on so that we can showcase your stuff. You
Oh,
have
thank you.
done some amazing work, which, if folks follow GateWorld on Twitter or elsewhere on social media, I share your stuff every time I see it. You showcase some of your finished products and some of your in progress work in the 3D printing. It's not just the 3D printing world, is it, for Stargate fandom? It's much more than 3D printing. It's your engineering, lights and sound. You're working with circuit
Yes.
boards. How do you describe your hobby?
Um, that's a great question. An unhealthy obsession is probably the right description for it. So it's basically the different types of prop making, bringing together different technologies like 3D printing and electronics and computer-aided design, etc., and trying to replicate as faithfully as possible what we saw on television for Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis. And then, of course, moving up through Stargate Universe. So it's essentially bringing those three things together with the ultimate aim of trying to make sure that the work is available to other people who are in their own home if they want to have a go at this and make their own, because there isn't a huge amount of product that they can go out and purchase off the shelf, that they can do that. And hopefully, that will inspire those folks to maybe make their own or, take what I've done and make it better, which would be great. So, yeah, it's basically trying to replicate the props and things that interest me from the show, as a way of trying to keep fandom energized until eventually, hopefully, we get another Stargate series on television.
That's the goal, right? To hopefully, right, keep everybody energized, keep fans interested, right? We've got new stuff to talk about because
Mhm.
we have the official licensees who are
Yeah,
making products, but there's not a lot out there. For as long as Stargate's been around and as big a brand as it is, you think that there would be more officially licensed goodies out there. So you've done
yeah,
a lot of the props that you've done are things that you want to see that don't exist in the real world, right? Unless you get your hands on an actual, like a screen used prop from auction
yeah.
or something.
Yeah, I don't have any actual props from the show in my possession. I went down last year, I think it was, and we toured David's house from Dial the Gate. Had a lot of fun that weekend doing that, and seen all the amazing props that he has in his collection. And that's as close as I've come to actually seeing it. But that was more than impressive because you got to see so many props, including bits of Stargate and all sorts of other things from the show. Um, and David very kindly made those available on Dial the Gate. So if folks are looking to go and see that, I think it's called David's Collection. Um, go check it out, because if you're interested in Stargate, it's an amazing set of props. So that's as close as I've come to seeing the real ones. I think you had toured the sets a few times up in Bridge Studios in Vancouver. So I didn't get to do that. I would have loved to have done that. That sounds super exciting. I wish they had have somehow kept those, constructed somewhere. So I haven't got the original props, but I did want to collect, as I became a fan of the show, I did want to collect different pieces. And as you quite rightly point out, there just wasn't any. I mean, there was a couple of small things, but generally the DVDs and things like that were the only thing that you could really purchase at the time. There were a couple of things, I think, from Art Asylum. They were the other group of people that were doing things at the time. They had like an action figure range and things like that. But that was it. I don't think there was anything else. If you look at the way Star Trek and Star Wars are merchandised, there's lots of things for fans to stay energized with and collect. And we just don't have that in Stargate. And I'm not really sure why, because it's one of the longest running television series in the world that Brad Wright and others sort of put together over those 18 years or something.
Yeah.
So it's a long time, right? So you would think that there would have been more, and there wasn't. And so I thought, well, I will try to build the pieces that I would like to see. But I also wanted to do more than that. I wanted to make sure that other people could try replicate it as well. I didn't want people to think, oh, that's something nice to look at, but I can't have that for my own desk. I wanted them to be able to, just for their own home and personal use, just be able to sort of create something for themselves as well, which is why I write the manuals to things I release and stuff like that. So people can just follow through and build it themselves. And people have been doing that, especially recently with the Stargate. And so it's very gratifying to see people sort of getting energized around those things and building them. So
You've done stuff that is so cool. So, guys, the plans for the live stream today is we're going to do a showcase of Martin's work. We're going to go through the things that I have collected around my desk and behind me that Martin has made for me. And Martin, you've also got some really cool projects that you're currently working on, and you've got your library of projects that you've done. So we're going to showcase those. But for folks who are kind of new to this whole world, right? You're 3D printing, you're sanding, you're gluing, you're painting, you're wiring sometimes, and this is right. This stuff just isn't available. This is there's not a whole lot in the world of like a replica Zat Nicotel. So if I want to, as a fan of Stargate, if I want a Zat gun, how do I get one? Well, I can go on. Hollywood Collectibles just announced that they're going to do they're taking pre-orders now for a Zat and a staff weapon. That Zat is like $300. If I want to kind of DIY a Zat gun, you've made that possible now, because you haven't just designed it and 3D printed it and created this, but as you say, you have provided a lot of these 3D printer files for folks who have access to 3D printing, or you can send away for stuff, right? If I don't have a 3D printer, there are services that will 3D print and mail you a physical thing, and then you can kind of do it as a DIY kit.
Yep, it's designed to be built like a Lego kit. So if you don't come into it with a huge amount of expertise, that it doesn't sort of set up a roadblock to you building your own. The only restriction on you is that it's personal and private use. You can't go out and make these commercially, you can't reproduce them, you can't do anything like that. I want to be respectful of the licensees and all the great products that they're making. So, what I would love to see is, more and more official licensees coming out with more products. I am a huge fan of Master Replicas. I love the work that they do. And it took them to come to market really to do this for Stargate, which I'm deeply appreciative of.
Yeah, but they're doing some cool stuff, right? Here's my 304.
Yeah. It's so cool. Yeah, I have one of those. I have several of their things, and I've just ordered some more. They're really great. And I think it's important as a fan of Stargate to support them too. I think not only because you should, if you're a fan, but because they're producing some really great stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's should be celebrated in that way. And they're great to collect. I really like them. My favorite's the Goel Mothership, I just
Mm-hmm.
love the design, and I love the scale and things that they've done. And so,
It's so
yeah,
Stargate, right?
yeah, yeah, and they've just done a beautiful job on the detail and on the color, um, and just on the whole construction. I think it's great. And that's one less I have to do now for myself. So I am delighted when
And
somebody else goes and does it for me. I'm very happy to buy it.
that's one of the
It's
things that I love about the work that you do, and sort of your take on fandom and being a collector and a hobbyist is if there's something great out there, that's great, right? Master replicas models, I'm so appreciative of the fact that I can pick these up for $50 or $60. They're not 150 or 200 each. But then you go and you find the gaps. You find stuff that isn't out there yet, and make that kind of stuff. Or as we'll look at a little bit later, things to improve or to accompany some of Master
mm,
Replica's stuff. It's
yeah,
like the Stargate stands that we'll look at.
yeah. I mean, because master replicas can only scale so much. They're trying to produce. They do things for Star Trek and Doctor Who and Battlestar Galactica and all sorts of things. So, resourcing being what it is, they can only scale so far. So I try to think, well, what else would somebody want to put with it that just completes their collection and gives them a nice space to display the master replicas, ships, and things like that. Um, it's exciting to see their range of products, though, and I hope we see a lot more. And I think they will expand a lot more, hopefully, and I look forward to that. So that'd be really good. But yeah, my secret aim here is to try get people to build things too, and create things too as well, and get the satisfaction that you can get from sitting down and doing something yourself rather than sit in front of you know the Xbox all the time. Just sort of get out there and make something yourself, and enjoy that, and maybe share that around. I mean, the Stargate community is particularly good community for this. It's a particularly supportive community. I've never found, really any detractions in it at all. And I think that's what makes it fun. So you
Yeah.
can share that out there, and hopefully people can use it.
Let's say a little bit more about that. What's your experience been with Stargate fandom? So I know you went to GateCon at least. Have you been to
Yeah.
any other conventions and had a chance to sort of interact with other fans, with other hobbyists? I know you got connected at GateCon with Remy and the SG-1
Yes.
props team. Talk a little bit about
Yeah.
how fans have responded to your work up to this point.
So the fans have been fantastic and super supportive. Um, and occasionally they'll give me feedback which I really like. And I know some people sort of think, well, do you want good feedback and bad feedback? Yeah, I want both. But I'm always interested to hear and how we can improve things and how we can make them better, and how we can make them more scalable, so that people can, um, enjoy building them, make them easier to do. I met up with Remington Phillips and his partner Nicole at GateCon. I think you and I were there. That was fantastic. I mean, their work in SG-1 props is really inspirational. And so I was delighted to work on that in any capacity, and to hang out with them. I mean, they're incredible photographers, they're designers, they're builders. Um, they're amazing. And I have a Kino device that they gave me as a gift, and some of the interior
Wow.
painting and detail is superb.
Just
And
off the charts, right?
I spoke to Nicole about it for a while because she painted a lot of it from memory, and she's just light years ahead, right, when it comes to working out, colors. And she explained it to me, which is very kind to her, because I think she'd lost me after about the first minute and a half about how she does this. But I mean, it was incredible, and the two of them are just make amazing things. So that to me is really exciting when you get to meet people like that are doing similar things to you and can share. And they did the documentary with myself and Astrid down at Davidson. We just had a fantastic time doing that. It was a lot of laughs. Too many laughs. We didn't get enough work done, but
Well, I watched
probably
the video and it was fun. It looks like you guys were having a good time going through David's place and David's collection. We'll put a link to that on Dial the Gate in the description for this video. But yeah, Remy and Nicole and the SG-1 props team do such phenomenal work, and uh, it's different than your work though, right? They're doing a lot of
Yeah.
resin casting. I know with the ZPM, I think they had access. Was it the ZPM or was it another prop? They had access to an original show prop that
I, I
they
think they've had
cast a
access to.
mold of.
Yeah, yeah, and so they sort of beautifully and wonderfully recreate the original props in kind of every imaginable detail because they often on many instances have access to molds and or create molds from original props and things like
Yeah.
that. And the
Whereas
work is there.
one of the fun challenges that I know you go through in your process of sort of designing something from scratch and trying to screen match it based on, you know, just looking at episodes and trying to get screen captures of the detail of the props to
Yeah.
remake it in a design studio for 3D printing is you often have to kind of fudge things, guesstimate, cheat.
Yes.
What's
Yeah.
an example of a time where you've had to kind of shortcut or guess your way to the finished product?
Oh, so I always approach the props with the same attitude, which is if I went into the store and I wanted to buy one of these and I wanted it to sit on my desk and have it at home, occasionally I'd pick it up and play with it and it would do something, lights or sound or whatever. I'd put it back there and it would just sit as a nice display piece. So I always approach it from that point of view. If I went into a store or, I was younger and I went into a toy store or whatever, what would I want it to do? Um, and so I've always tried to make it as close as possible to what the show depicted it as. Now, the show was often 4 or 5 different props, and one had lights, and one had sound, and one was overlaid with visual effects and things like that. So I don't have that luxury of being able to do 3 or 4 of them. So what I try to do is condense it all into one. Um, and usually space is the problem for that, trying to make sure that you can get everything to fit in um, to the housing or the case, and sometimes because they were visual effects when it was lighting up or showing things on screens, there isn't a lot of room, and so that's a bit of a challenge as well. It's a bigger challenge because you don't have blueprints. Well, at least I don't have any blueprints. Occasionally, I get lucky and someone will post. Joe Malosi, the wonderful Joe Malosi, will post something like, a bit of art illustration or something. And at least then I can see what the designer was thinking. But I don't have any sizes. So you have to go. So what I decided early on was, well, I'm going to go with what it looks like in the show. That's that's the best that I can do.
Yeah.
So I can see it next to people. I can take a screen capture and I can estimate what the scale is and do some math on it, and I can work it out from there. And so, but the problem is you often get uh, one angle of that, or maybe two. You don't have a complete 3D rotation, so you have to, make some level of guesses. I try not to do it too often if I don't have to, but often well, almost always I don't have any sort of blueprints or anything to go by. Occasionally, David will have access to something I don't and be able to share some details like that. And that's super helpful. Um, but like when I did the Stargate, for example, or I just, I did it from screen captures and photos and, with illustrations I could find. And I always try to make it with the painting and what have you, I always try to make it look like the show. Now, those props are under studio lighting, right? And when you see the real props, and I discovered this a lot when I was walking through David's collection, they can look quite different. And so when they're lit in studios, they're lit in a very special way that, makes them look a certain way. And so the colors sometimes come out a little bit different on the screen. But there's no point in me making them exactly like the prop was under normal fluorescent lighting, because that's not what people remember when they see the show. They see it looked a certain way, the
Yeah.
lights did a certain thing, and so try to recreate it in that way, and make it. And it's difficult. The Naquita generator was like that, trying to understand the scale and trying to get that right, especially the sort of the power globes on either side of it, was challenging because there just wasn't any
Just
plans.
yeah, the proportionality.
Yeah, it makes it quite difficult. if you had the plans, would it help me? Yeah, it would a lot, and mostly for angles and things like that of different parts. But it wouldn't help me, like it wouldn't get me out of doing the CAD design, because I need to create it with spaces for batteries and circuit boards and lights, and so that requires channeling and or different screw holes that are hidden under different places, so you can't see where the screws are, and wherever possible and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I also try to make it so that you can take them apart, so that if something inevitably breaks or something, that you can always go in and do some sort of basic
Yeah, and
repairs.
I love that it becomes a fun little engineering project. Things like hiding screws, right? Things that most people don't think about, right? They want to get something in their hands, and hopefully after they've assembled it, it looks like it looked on the show.
Yeah, that's really the aim, and the whole purpose for me is to just fill holes in the collection I would like to have, and then share it back. It's not to, somebody said to me, "This is a really good thing to do because you could make lots of money out of this." But you know what? If you're in this for the money, you're in it for the wrong reason, and you will find out rapidly that that does not scale and does not work. This is a hobby, and it's an opportunity to sort of do good things with it and meet good people, and that's the
Yeah,
payback for me.
and
So
it showcases the love of Stargate, right? Just like my
yes,
hobby is GateWorld. It
yep,
you're showcasing your fandom, which I love. Folks in the chat, if you've got any questions for me or Martin, drop them in the chat, and we're going to try and pay attention here. I want to give a special thanks out to Anthony Rawling, who is in here as our moderator. Thanks, Anthony, for showing up, even though I didn't tell you that we were doing this. Thank you, Anthony. Thanks everybody who is able to be here live. We're doing these kind of experimental live streams on Friday afternoons here in the States. In part, they're scheduled the way that they are so that our friends in the UK and Europe can also join us when they want to. It's not so late. But yeah, we might mix things up. We might try a different hour. We might try a different day, depending on people's schedules, because there are some other guests that I want to get to come on here for the live stream, and they're in all different kinds of time zones, right? So
yep,
drop questions in the chat if you have anything. We're going to go through Martin's collection here. And I should also, before we jump into it, let me say thanks to GateWorld's channel members. I don't know if we have any channel members here right now, but if you guys are interested in supporting what we're doing on GateWorld, look for the join button under any video on GateWorld. Our content's always free. You're not going to pay for extra videos or anything like that, but it's just a way for you to throw a few bucks to support what we're doing and help me to continue to be able to do it. Thank you for that. Okay, so Martin,
yep.
how should we do this? I suggested maybe we go chronologically, and I've got the stuff on my desk that you have graciously gifted to me, and these things get progressively cooler and more elaborate. So I look at this as kind of the journey of you as a creative, as you've learned things, as you've tried harder projects. So where should we start?
Oh, let's start off with the very first one that started all of this off. So this is I'll hold this up to camera and maybe people can see this. So this is the MALP. The MALP is what started all of this off. So this is the very first 3D model I ever designed and built. And the reason that I did it is because I had managed to collect some of the Art Asylum figurines, and I wanted something for the display. And it came with a MALP, but the MALP was out of scale. Like you could collect different little bits and pieces with each figurine, and it made a small MALP, but the MALP I thought was out of scale. So I decided I wanted the other MALP, the one that you sort of seen all the time, not just I think in the first few episodes, that one. And so I decided to build that. Because I didn't know anything about, I mean, my background is electronic engineering and computer science, but I didn't know anything at all about CAD design. Although I had design skills, I decided to teach myself CAD and make my own. And this took me like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like 6 months or something like that, something embarrassing like that.
Well, you're learning the software and the techniques as you went.
Yeah, and it's really weird, but if I hold it back here, there's lots of really strange angles all over the place here that you don't think about, even from the side, and there's some strange angles at the front and the back and
Yeah.
all sorts of places. It's very clever design, but it's not obvious that there's as many angles and as many different turns, and even these sort of like mudguard things are on an angle, they're slightly down, and things like that you don't think of. So it took a long time, and I wanted it to be an exact scale to the figurines as well. Anyway, if anybody wants this, by the way, you can download this for free online. It's been around for ages.
This is
But
scaled to the Diamond Select. What are those,
yeah,
like 8-inch figures?
I'm gonna say
Are they
six,
six?
but you know what? They
Yeah,
might
I
be
never had any of them. I saw them in the
definitely
stores,
six.
but I never ended up buying any. David had a whole bunch of them. He collected a bunch and did a bunch of the product photography that's in the
Yes.
GateWorld gallery.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can still collect them on eBay and things like that, although the cost is,
Yeah.
at this point is a lot more. So I had some of those. I didn't have them all, but I wanted something to go with it, and that's how that started. And so after I did that, then I had to sort of work out a way. And there was no electronics or anything in that mount, and I'm working on a project at the moment to make this mount, or its brother, will be remote control.
Of course
So
it will.
yeah, so you'll be able to drive it around, and I've
Yeah.
already been testing it, and it seems to work pretty well.
So
But
I've gotten
the
to know
mount,
you. I've gotten to know you well enough that when you show me something and my first thought goes to like, ooh, what if you've already thought of it and integrated it into the plan? A mount,
it's
a new mount. Oh, wouldn't it be cool if you could put RC control? Yep, you've already done it.
yeah, so I wanted that. I've been trying to work out how to get the camera to work and bring the camera image back as well and stuff like that. So, but the
Oh, that'd be
camera's so
cool.
small.
Yeah,
So,
the world's slowest drone.
yeah, and it's that, that's the funny thing about the remote control. Making it go slow enough is the difficult bit. I
I
had
had
it running
RC cars as
around,
a
but
kid. Yeah.
yeah, the mount prototype ran into the wall a few times, so it's just like, I mean, that's not going to work. So we have to really scale back the gearbox and things like that. I'm not a mechanical engineer; I'm an electronic engineer. So this means learning more about gearboxes than I ever wanted to know, and will promptly forget once I've finished it. Um, so I'm working on that, and there'll be lights and sounds and things like that. And I'm finally going to fix the thing that annoys me greatly, which is the wheels. So the wheels were, I don't know where I got those wheels from or something, but I'm going to fix that. I've designed, good wheels now to replace these rubbishy wheels. So yeah, that will become available at some point once I get it done. I'm working on something for David at the moment, so it's just about finished. So
Cool, cool.
yeah,
Well,
it was
that's
until I finished it. It had some problems, and I had to start over again.
very
But
good. Let's look at your website here in a minute. I also want to address some of the questions on chat. Matthew Smith 7520 says, "Where's a good place to see Martin's files and possibly support his mission for hobby 3D printers?" So I'm going to pull up your website here and we can look at that in a minute. But are there particular repositories for 3D sourcing that you favor, that you tend to keep your stuff archived at?
yeah, there are. So there's three real places you can go. Well, there's four if you include my website. But I put all the free models and things like that mostly on either makerworld.com or on printables.com. They're on both places. So you can go and download those models, like the DHD here, for example, and they're all free. You can go and get those, and you can get the Stargate as well. Be warned, the Stargate is a big print. It's 2.5 feet wide. So, but it looks amazing, and so many people have done just amazing versions of it. I'm so delighted. So you can go there and get all of those. Not everything is there, but there's by no means not everything is there, but bits and pieces are there. So you can get them on MakerWorld or printables. I put a couple of them on Etsy, so that for like, the price of a cup of coffee, that sort of thing. So I do two things with Etsy. Some I will put on there for two reasons. The first one is I usually donate all the money, whatever I make from Etsy, to a couple of charities. So I have two in particular. One of them is the Macquarie Koala Hospital in Australia that's trying to stop koalas becoming extinct by 2050. And so they're doing some amazing work down there. And so I try to support them. And then the other one is I put occasional models up there that I will sell. I have a friend who's having some challenges making ends meet with literally basics, food and electricity and what have you. And so if I sell anything on there, I just sort of push that money across to that person. So that's really the only reason I have Etsy. That's why there's not lots of things on there and things like that. It's just certain pieces. But if you're interested in collecting some of the pieces, you can always ask me and have a conversation with me. Or if they're on Etsy and it's something you want for your partner or for yourself, then that's where the money's going, though.
Great.
So
Yeah, that's wonderful.
yeah.
So folks are going to find this at gatebuilder.tech, gatebuilder.tech, and you'll get to Martin's site. You can contact Martin here. You've got a showcase here. We might look at some of the items here in a minute, but if folks are also looking for download links, right, this will go to some of those repository sites, right?
Is up here on the wall behind me, but there's a whole bunch that you very kindly host on GateWorld that people can also download for free.
Yeah, let's make sure people know where to find those too. Let's see here.
Free posters. It'll take you out to GateWorld's repository, and you should be able to. Yeah, it takes you out to some of the posters that are available, and I think there's also a link there to the gallery. Yeah, view the gallery, and you can go in and download different ones of the MALP and the Gate Room and
Atlantis, the MALP,
yeah,
Puddle Jumper. These are so cool.
You asked me earlier about the fans, and the one thing I do remember is when you and I published the Atlantis blueprint, that somebody had pointed out to me there was a generator somewhere on the North Pier that was missing. So I fixed it. It's back in there now.
You fixed it now?
I fixed it now. They were quite adamant about it. And I'm always delighted to hear things like that because somebody took the time to read it and someone took the time to provide the feedback, and that's really cool. So I fixed it. So it's in there now. So if you're out there and you complained about the generator, it's back. It was a serious issue that I didn't know about.
Okay, people are gonna watch this later and they're gonna want to know how to find this stuff. So gatebuilder.tech, and also look in the links in the video description for this video. We're gonna link to this gallery that's on GateWorld, or you can go to GateWorld and click on gallery and go into the Stargate fan art section, and there's a gallery of Martin's blueprints in there.
Yep. And I think they're all configured for desktop wallpaper as well. You can download them for your iPad, all those sort of things if you want to, you want to put them on there. So.
Okay, I don't want to keep you here for 4 hours. We got a lot to look at. So from the MALP, where did we go next?
We went here, which is the Atlantis door control, which I wanted a motion activated version of. So I decided I would build this to do it. And it has it has like sections that can come off like they did in the show and what have you. So I really wanted one of these for the wall, and you just connect it on, and as you pass by it, obviously the motion triggers and things like that. It's just battery powered on the back. So I did that one next. That was much faster than the mount because it was much simpler, and it just required a little bit of motion detection circuitry in there. But I'm going to upgrade that as well because I want to put some sound in there, and I've come a long way since I originally did that one.
Yeah, but more complex.
And then I moved on to
Let's go little
Sorry?
here. Let's go
Yep.
little here. I got this from you.
Yeah, one of those.
If anybody recognizes this guy with a little power switch. This is
Yep.
the mimetic device. I thought about maybe zooming my camera out and then just wearing this on my sweatshirt the whole time. And then I thought, ooh, maybe I could do a transition. I get somebody else to sit in here and record video of them, and I could do a transition where I pull this off and then I
That would have
morph
been.
into somebody else.
I
So yeah,
almost
this is
expected to see that just then.
I
That's
didn't have
just
time. I couldn't even get my Bluetooth earbuds to work. I did not have time for that. But maybe next time. Yeah, this is the mimic device from the episode Foothold, and it comes up again in season 6.
yeah.
Used to frame
It was
Jack for murder.
it was weird to design this because it's quite organic. It looks like a sort of a series of shells. And it took me a long time to get it right. But I think it's pretty close to accurate. David had the real one. And we put them, I think, side by side, and I was impressed at how close I managed to get it
Really?
in terms of size. And although theirs had batteries that came from a wire out the back and went under, I guess, the actor's costume or wardrobe, whereas this one's actually self-contained and the batteries and everything are inside it. But and that's the luxury we have, right? The miniaturization has come a long way since the show was made.
Yeah.
And so that's the advantage I have that the original prop builders didn't get. And I was listening to one of David's interviews the other day, and they were talking about visual effects and how they only just got a laser cutter, and that was state of the art then to do that, right?
Yeah.
So
Over the course of the show's production, the
yeah.
technology evolved to the point where they could do stuff like that. They had
Yeah.
what? They had originally was it gas canisters in the Zats to make the Zats
Yes.
open up, and
Yeah.
it was kind of a one-use thing. And for the next take, the prop master had to come and take your Zat and reload it with another gas canister.
Ouch. That's a lot. And then where did I go next? Oh, I went here, which was one
Yes.
that people are probably more familiar with.
The life signs detector.
The life science detector with the different functionality.
Yeah, or as David likes to call it, the Atlantis Game Boy.
Yeah, the Atlantis Game Boy. And this is, I think, the second version of it because it's made of a clearer material, and it's just a little bit more accurate on the front. And I changed a lot of the graphics around. And this one's USB-C, so that you can recharge it and what have you. So there's been a few, like, things have gotten better as it's gone along. Everything's sort of got its own power and stuff like that. And then I went on to, I did this. I did the GDO. And the GDO is kind of interesting because in the show it was a very static prop. And I don't know if you can see that. Sorry.
It was literally static, right? The screen with the little digital readout was not a working electronic screen, right? It was a print.
Exactly. And so I think it was here. So what I did is I actually just put working electronics in there. Sorry that the screen's a little bit clearer for people. They can't see all the detail there with the lighting. My apologies, because there is reflective material over it. And then I also did, what I thought the GDO might look like, if the show came back and they updated the graphics a little bit. And so they have all the different graphics and what have you about
That's
the
cool.
device opening. So I did that one. That's the same thing. It's sort of USB chargeable and has all the different bits and pieces on there. So I really like doing that because I hadn't done one with a screen before. And of course, the originals as you say, they were never functional like this. So eventually I found a screen that fit perfectly. And so that's what I did after that. What did I do? Oh, I did small things along the way. I did like the personal shield
Oh, the
device.
turtle brooch.
Yeah, the turtle brooch from Atlantis and stuff like that, which I really enjoyed doing, and I intend to get back to because that's one that I was never happy with in the end. So I did that, and that led me to this tiny little. Um,
Look at how cute it is.
Yep. So it's this infinitely small. I don't know whether you can see that, but it's very small.
Oh yeah.
So a very small little macro generator.
Does that fit
So
for
we did that.
the action figure scale as well?
Yeah, you can. It's I don't know whether it's apparent here, but it goes very much with
Yeah.
the same scale as the thing. But and then I made a slightly bigger version of that, which is the one that you had.
This is the one that I
Um,
have.
yeah, it's the one that you have.
Okay, I got
And
my
that was
top
kind
down
of the
camera ready here.
middle. That was a sort of a much smaller version. And then I did.
Here
Oh
we
yeah,
go.
you've
Let's look
got
at
that.
this first. I got my camera. I spent a lot of time on my camera. So
Yep.
again, attention to detail, not just the generator itself, but the little SGC grate stand, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I
And
enjoyed doing the stand. It's
little
and
power
so the
switch right there.
electronics in that was kind of basic, right? I mean, it could light up and nothing could really move, and it didn't really
Yeah,
sort of emulate the show terribly. But at least given that there wasn't anything like it around, at least it did what it was supposed to do, which was kind of
I
the
haven't
desktop.
had to replace the battery yet.
Oh, the batteries last for a long time on that. It's a very power efficient circuit. So that went pretty well on that, and that led me to the large version, which is see if I can grab this.
Well, while you get that, I'm going to confess my sins, which is the first thing you ever made for me, and I'm still so appreciative, was the kit, the
Oh
3D printed
yes,
pieces
yes.
for, I guess, a previous version of the generator. And I'm like, wow, this would be really cool for me and my son to do on a Saturday. Let's go get some model glue and kit pieces, and it didn't happen. It just didn't happen. So I had to, yeah. Yeah, you were kind enough to do the assembly for me and send me the finished product, which is why we've been able to have it on display here on the channel. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm glad you didn't build the kit because I think I I think it would have taken you a while to do it. And there's actually been like 3 or 4 different models. It's not the same model refined. It's actually been 3 or 4 redos from scratch to get it right. And then I did the big version,
Okay,
which
how
is
big
kind
is
of
this thing? This is,
well, it's slightly less than studio scale, but not
yeah,
too
it's
much.
not 1-1, is it?
It's not 1:1. And that was done because everything has to fit on a shelf. And so, but it does have all of um, the moving parts
Oh,
from
cool. It
the
slides out.
show. And hang on, let me see if I can move that around for you. Sorry, folks. And then if you go around and even have a look at uh, the Naquita power globes on the side, it has all of the different bits and pieces that go in there. So, but then it has I think pretty much which is the lighting system here. You can turn it, and then it has sort of the working sort of lights from the show.
So cool.
So so it's nice to have done this. It took a long time to make it because when I designed it, 3D printers were a bit slower than they are now, and so I did this one. And that's another thing that I have to at some point fix up because I wanted to modify this for David. David has one of these on the set of Dial the Gate, very kindly uses it there. But I want to actually I want to modify that and update it so that it's got better power system. And David's long expressed the desire to have it be a Bluetooth speaker. So I'm going to put that in there too somewhere. And it will
Of
be bigger.
course.
It will be more close to studio
That's
scale.
brilliant. How
Yeah.
long? You
So,
said it was a slower printer. How long is a print job like that on a slower printer?
oh wow. Well, I think the Power Globes took over 24 hours, so 24 hours
Yeah,
each. So a couple of days
just
solid just for
the
that, and
better
then
part of a
probably,
week.
oh yeah, then an extra week on top to do the
Hmm.
body and the cone, and then all the internals and the base and things like that. Yeah, so quite a long time, and then a lot of sanding and a lot of painting, and whenever you work with aluminum style painting or aluminium, depending on which part of the world you're
Aluminium,
from.
that's okay.
It's whenever you work on that, it's difficult because the surface has to be virtually perfect so that
Hmm.
none of the blemishes show up. So you have to have a very highly polished surface to make the paint do the right thing. I mean, I
Right.
think on the show they probably milled it from aluminum, right? They probably had people in who had lathes and could sort of pop that stuff out directly out of aluminum. And I've seen a couple of prop photos of the original, just bits and pieces, and I know it was made of metal. So
Oh, it was.
yeah, I don't know that it did much electronically at all, but someone out there who maybe has one. I think Remington may have one actually.
Oh, that
I
would be cool
almost
to see, or at least
yeah.
to grill him about what it's like. Because yeah, I know the
Yeah.
Stargate fabrication team did some phenomenal work, but they also did movie magic, right? They used all kinds of materials. You got stuff that looks like ancient metal that is made of rubber or styrofoam or yeah, they would put it out and paint it
Yeah.
wonderfully. And even with
Oh,
HD, it still
it's
holds
astounding.
up.
Yeah. I mean, it's they're clever people, right? I mean, they're very clever at what they do. They can make anything look like a tree or a concrete wall or whatever because the artists are very very talented people, indeed. So I think that they're to be credited for that. I would have loved to. My only regret is that I never got to actually see the sets up in person because I would have had a really good time having a look at that. But I'm very grateful that I at least got to see all the stuff David had because at least then I got up close and personal. But they used a lot of materials that weren't designed to last. So
Yeah.
preserving them is quite the challenge, right? So, there's a lot of, as you say, there was rubber, there was polyurethane, and a whole bunch of things like that, which don't age and color well with time. And so looking after those bits and pieces, I think is a
Yeah,
challenge.
which is a big issue, of course, with all television and film
Mm.
prop collecting. This stuff just doesn't last. Doesn't
No,
people who end up holding some of those pieces need to really take great measures in some cases to take care of them.
yeah, yeah. If you're fortunate enough to be a custodian of it, I think you do need to take that responsibility seriously and try to look after it. Some things you can't do. I mean, because just discoloration can happen even when these things are in cabinets and sealed away and what have you. That's I think the problem people have with it. And the same will happen with the models that I make. I mean, they're made of plastic and electronics and bits of metal and what have you, and eventually that will decay. The difference is you can just go find another one, and it's back again, which is the lovely thing about it. Um, you know, it's I try to always make it so that you can paint them and give them more realistic detailing, which is a skill in its own right, right? So I did that, and then what else did I do? Oh, the puddle jumper. Yeah, right along. So I did the puddle jumper, which I think you also have in your possession as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
So
This is okay. We got a couple of big showcase pieces today. One is the gate and the DHD, and the other one's the puddle jumper. So let me go grab mine. I
okay.
gotta pop my ears out for a minute. It's just charging over there. So why don't you give us the introduction into how you approach this and how it became such an ambitious project? Because there's a lot going on here.
So the puddle jumper was the one prop I always wanted from Stargate. I always was super impressed with the ship design. I was super impressed with the shape and how they had put the pods or the nacelle engines embedded inside. And so I thought this was something that I really wanted to own, and I wanted to buy one. And I went everywhere looking for people that had made various versions of it and things like that. And James Robbins, I think, kindly posted some 3D printed files, which I assume were from the original design. And you can print them and make your own. But it didn't have any of the level of high detail that I want. It was a really good model, excellent, as is everything James does. But it didn't do the things I wanted to do. It didn't have sound and lights and all those sort of things, understandably. So that was never its intent. And I couldn't edit it. And I wouldn't edit it because it's somebody else's work. So I decided I'm going to create my own. And I tried and failed miserably. And then I tried
This
again,
is hard.
failed
The
miserably,
jumper
because
is
the shape
so
is
specific.
it's a weird shape. It
Even
doesn't
just,
look
yeah,
it,
the
but it
angles,
is.
as we'll see here
Yeah.
in a second, the angle of the front, you can see, right? You can see fan art, you can see 3D printed stuff online, and if you don't get that angle right,
Yeah, then
we
it just doesn't look good at all.
saw the jumper so many times on the show, it looks off. There's like an uncanny valley with the
Yeah.
dimensions of the ship.
And there's like multiple versions on the show, right? Because they were done by different effects artists. And then there was the physical prop that they made on stage.
That's right.
And so um, trying to make it, were you going to follow the one from Mobius or were you going to take the one from Atlantis? And so that became a challenge on how to get that right. And then there was the color of it, which was a nightmare because there's no real reference to that anywhere. And depending on if you look at screen captures or if you look at photos, it's always different.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of thinks it's green, but I think
This
you
is
and I were
Master
talking about this.
Replicas.
Yeah, I like that. I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, so this is the Master Replicas puddle jumper, right? It's one piece with the drive pods open. We did a review of this on the channel, and one of the most common comments that I get is about the color, because under my studio lights, it really looks green.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
even more so than the show. I've looked at least later shots, right? There's some nice hero shots of the puddle jumper in season 5 in episodes like Ghost in the Machine. And by that point, it seems like the coloring is more towards kind of gray brown.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. And I looked at it, pretty sure I took some of my stuff from Mobius, screenshots from Mobius when it went back in time and they had quite some close-ups of the studio. So it's definitely developed. So the color was challenging. The thing that always bothered me about it was the drive pods at the side. And so I wanted to make sure that my drive pods could go in and out.
This thing is so cool. Can we look at it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So
Here's mine.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
is
Oh,
yours
that's
different than mine?
no, yours is an exact replica of mine.
This is honestly one of the reasons. I'll confess here again. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to start live streaming, was because I got this amazing piece of work from Martin, and I need to find a way to showcase it. So I'm so excited for everybody to finally get to see this thing in action. David's got one on his set though,
David has
doesn't he?
one as well. Yep, David is one of the only difference in David's is I was going to put like a little pilot in there with a 3D image of him. But he told me not to bother. I think he thought, no, going too far.
Okay, so for size, this is roughly what? This is a small shoebox. Here it is next to Master Replica's
yeah,
jumper.
there's a little difference. So I'm going to say, I think it's about 14 inches in length, and it's about maybe 5 or 6 tall, and again wide from memory overall. But it's and then it's got the interior as well. So there's obviously a cockpit and all that sort of stuff. Someone did ask me why there's no rear area of the jumper, and it's only because with the drive pod mechanics, it was just really difficult to put the interior at the back and have somewhere to put the battery and have somewhere to put the switch.
You need all that
And then
space, right? For the whole
yeah,
drive
and I
assembly.
became obsessed with the pods going out and in.
Yeah,
So
let's talk about the interior first before
yes,
we open the drive pods. You've got screen accurate looking controls, the little DHD, the seats.
Yeah, so I
Is there
tried to
is the
squeeze as
bulkhead
much.
door back there as well?
Yep, that's all there. And I based this, I think, from Atlantis. So there's only two variants in this. I think the one David has was from SG-1, and I think you may have the Atlantis one. And the only difference is that it has like equipment cases behind the seats at the bulkhead.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, really the difference in it primarily. But other than that, they should be the same. Uh,
Okay, and
and then they
I did charge this. Let's see.
see if it's
Let's see if it
still.
works.
Yeah, so there's the lighting
It
all
has
coming on.
internal lighting and sounds.
Yeah, so all of the lights that are at the side in the show are in the cockpit. So all the roof lighting. There's actually 5 interior lights. There's 2 on either side, port and starboard, and there's 1 overhead at the bulkhead, just like there was in the show. And then there
Incredible.
is the actual console is lit up as well, because that always had that sort of crystalline, ancient sort
Yeah.
of look to it. Which going back to a point we made earlier is about the laser cutter, right? Because they got laser cutters and thought it wouldn't be good if we clear cut all this acrylic and layered it up and made it look like all these sort of fancy interface, which is of course what they did. And so I put all of or as much of that in as I could. Is it the most accurate console? I don't think so, because every time I look at photos, they're different. So I tried to keep it as close as I could to one particular variant.
Well, just the fact that
But
there's anything inside at all is remarkable, right? You could have just done a black screen,
yeah,
piece of
I
plastic
really
that you
didn't
can't
want
see.
to do that though. Like when I sat down and wrote the spec for what I was going to put in it, I thought I really want to be able to see inside. So as it gives it dimensionality and it gives it some sort of sense of realism that the others didn't have. And so I really wanted to do that. I thought that way when people look at it, there's something to engage with. Otherwise, it's very solid and very round, and it doesn't quite have the depth. So the interior gives it the depth that it didn't have before.
And
So yeah,
we have the black mat on the floor,
yeah,
the rubber
yeah,
mat.
yeah.
This is
So
almost big enough that I could put my GI Joes in here. Just need to scale it up a little bit for three and
it's,
three quarter inch GI Joes, and I could mock up a John Shepard.
oh, we should do it. I did produce yeah, so there's a button on the side and or at the back, and you can change from cloaking mode to non-cloaking mode.
Cloaking and
Um,
uncloaked.
and then there's a in-flight mode. So I don't know. So some people have said to me, well, the sound effects aren't exactly what was in the show. No, they're not. I made them in AI.
You made them.
Um,
They sound
yeah.
accurate to me.
Well, I don't think they really are, and that's because I want to be respectful for the copyright as
Yeah.
well. As well.
At least the engine, the drive sound here.
Yeah, that was hard. That one, trying to make that one. Um, I got that off whacking a piece of metal with a monkey wrench and then trying to change it with some harmonics and mix it in with a bit of another pilot.
What? Are you
Yeah,
serious?
that's how it happened.
You're
So, but it
literally
came out all right
doing
in
your
the
own
end.
folio here?
Yeah, yeah, badly, though, badly. And so that's how I made the sounds for that. And then in the end, I wanted to do the opening of the drive pods, which was the thing that led me down to a dark place, because I over engineered. I had this view, right, which I take when I make these things, which is if if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing, and this is a very bad motto to have, because if it this leads you to some time consuming places, and it did with the drive pods. I don't know what happened, but I had a really complicated drive system of gears and things like that. And as the pods opened and closed, they were slightly out of sync, and one wouldn't close and the other one would.
Okay, let's do the show here. Everybody's waiting for this, and then you can talk about the challenges of the drive pause. Are you guys ready for this? I cannot believe
Yeah. So this, and then the engines just sort of manually pop up. Yeah.
the drive pods open and close.
getting them to close and open was challenging. There'll be another version, and the version will be servo driven, so the pods will open and close with a button on the back, and so you don't have to do it manually. But on this version, you do have to do it manually.
So we have
So
you put a slider down here.
yes,
And this is,
yes,
again, this is why the back doesn't open, because there's a lot going on here. It's got to hold the drive pods as well as all the mechanics.
yeah,
And then
and
we've
it's
got
got
a
to,
USB port here to recharge, which I had to do.
yeah. And yeah, I mean the battery. I think that's one thing I'd change if I made a go. I put a bigger battery in there. So, but lipo batteries, they don't keep the charge for a long time. You do have to charge them up occasionally. Um, the Stargate's powered by a bigger battery than that. So, but I mean, it was worth it in the end. It took me a long time to get it right, and in the end, and maybe this is something for people who are interested in building their own. The easiest mechanical design turned out to be the best. Um, so otherwise, all these cog mechanisms were introduced in a series of lags. As one cog engaged the other, and etc., etc. It introduced this propagation delay, and the two pods wouldn't shut. Well, they would shut, but they wouldn't close quite perfectly on either side. And what was worse is it was intermittent; it only happened occasionally. So
Yeah, I can't.
which was annoying.
I mean,
So
just imagine it works so smoothly. It's engineered so well, and it feels nice to open and close. You can't even imagine, or I can't imagine the challenge of, as you say, getting them synchronized, getting the gears set so that it's a smooth motion,
yeah,
and then just getting these pieces to fit perfectly and stay in alignment.
and then put the sensors in there because the sensors have to know when the pods open and close to create the sound. Um, to play the different sound effects and what have you. So yeah, it made it a bit of a challenge. And then of course there was the painting to make sure that it even looked okay, or at least as accurate as we could possibly get. So yeah, but it worked out well in the end. I was very pleased with it in the end. It almost drove me crazy though, the pod doors. But I
I
learned
think
a lot doing it.
Killjoy 2051 in the chat is also excited that this thing exists. You finally made a V2. Now I need to get a better 3D printer, he says.
Yep, yep. It's pretty big, and you can see it next to sort of the Master Replicas one, but it's pretty large. So, and
Yeah.
somebody asked me, how
What
did
else
I
can
come
we
up?
do for scale here? Here's
Uh,
my fidget spinner.
Yep, use a little fidget spinner. That kind of gives you an idea. So, but even seeing it with your hand next to it gives you an idea of kind of roughly how big it gets.
Yeah.
But but David asked me once. He said, "Well, why is it the size that it is?" He thought it was a little smaller. I think, in retrospect, and it's because it's designed to fit on an IKEA shelf. So, like, as in one of the Kallax bookshelves or something like that. So,
Right.
because so many people have those to display on, or
Which
they
is
have small,
literally how I display it. It's displayed right up there on the top of my Billy bookshelf.
yeah. If IKEA would make them bigger, then I could make them bigger. So, until they do that,
This
and
I think
also I'm
is I
aware,
think this is perfect. There's so much to it. It's not like a tiny little thing that maybe just lights up.
yeah.
There's so much going on here. It's a uh,
Thank you.
fantastic piece of kit. The only reason, again, that I would like this to be bigger is so that I can stick a GI Joe in there.
Yeah, we could do it. I did make a really big one that fitted the Diamond Select action figures that went in there. A really big one, and I think
That's too
uh,
big though. Those are big
that
figures.
it was massive. Like, it was just the cockpit, but it was really big. And so I don't have it anymore. Someone asked me for it, and I gave it to them. But I so I only ever had one. Um, and I have since thought, because I redesigned everything from scratch for this jumper, I thought, well, maybe I might just cut the cockpit off or something and do another version of it,
Mm-hmm.
which would be a lot easier now to do than the original one. But it is one of those pieces where you go back and you think, oh, I like it. It annoyed me when I was building it to try and get all of the extrusions and the cuts out of the hull and all of the patterns that you see there, getting all of that right. But when it came together in the end, and there's like, I think, 9 layers of paint on there, something like that. So it's got a lot
Wow.
going on in there. Yeah, there was quite. It was not a small build
Yeah,
at
and the
all.
paint job again is one of those things about the puddle jumper, the color and the paint job, right? It needs to be not just a single flat color, not just a single greenish, but it's got sort of signs of rust, signs of wear.
Yep. Yeah, and trying to get that, and there's always challenges, like when the model gets lacquered in the end, that changes the patina on it as well. So you don't always see that, and it can't be blotchy. It has to be sort of airbrushed and things like that, so that it doesn't look too messy. And I suspect I would love to have seen the. I don't know what happened to the puddle jumper prop. I would love to know. Maybe David knows, or yourself, but
Yeah,
I
I don't
don't
know
know.
where it is or
No,
if it
no.
still exists.
That would be a crying shame if that was destroyed. That really would be a crying shame. I realize the rest are at such scale you probably can't keep it, but it would be a real shame if that was lost.
Yeah.
So hopefully somebody with deeper pockets than us has it in their collection, which would be delightful. So I did that, and then I did the Stargate. Was after that, the giant Stargate, and the
Well,
master rep stuff and stuff like that. The
yeah, before
next.
we get to the giant Stargate, let's look at the Stargate stands that we
Oh
have
yes,
because there's
yeah.
a bunch of these. And folks will be familiar with the Master Replicas Stargate, right? This is their 9.25-inch SGC gate. Their Atlantis gate is up there behind me. That's the thicker one. But what we got with these? Oh, I moved it out of reach. What we got were those big blocks, right? It's a,
Yeah.
a display stand that almost dwarfs the gate. So you wanted to make something that was more, I don't, it makes it, rather than a gate display piece, it makes it a little bit more like a diorama, like the Stargate from the show in a little scene. So we have proper stands instead. And the first one here,
Oh yes, the limestone
we got
version.
the,
Yeah.
the limestone kind of Abydos looking desert aesthetic.
Yeah, and the gate is in there.
It looks
So
great.
I mean, the idea was just try to make it so you could get it on your shelf. And Master Replicas did such a really fine job at making these at scale that I thought I want something so that it looks really cool when you display it. And they did a nice job in their space stand, but it was very big and it just
Yeah.
wouldn't fit in my shelf. And it was heavy. So I
It's
really didn't.
just, my only
It's,
complaint about it is that it's so big. When
yeah.
I put it on display on my shelf or on a table, the first thing that your eye goes to is the display stand because it's
Because
so
it's
large and this is relatively sleek and low profile.
yeah,
So
it's
I really
quite thin.
appreciate having
So
this.
yeah, so it brings it more alive. And what I did do is I did this. I remember there was a puddle. I think I gave you at some point like a 3D printed event horizon. Um,
Oh yeah, that's back here.
yeah, which is so I did that, but I never. And it's in a glow in the dark blue. So if occasionally you turn out the light at night, you may see it glowing, which may freak you out. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, my wife and I discovered that.
I'm so sorry about
I was no, she was going to bed early and I had the lights on
that.
and I was saying
That's
goodnight and turning out the lights and I'm like, "Oh, you know what? Martin's puddle glows in the dark. Sorry about that."
she's gonna kill me next time she sees me. It's just like, what are you doing?
No, it's not
So
that bad.
I came up
She's
with
used to,
this.
my office is in the bedroom right now, so she's used to the flickering lights of my computer all night long. But yeah, it looks great.
Yeah,
And
it was
it's
pretty good.
textured. It's a 3D print here, so
Yeah.
it's got little ripples on it.
I think what it would have been nice to make it more like a puddle, and I think I needed to do a little bit more on that. And so what I what I did is I mean, it was effective for what it was, but it just at least it gave it and gave the person an option, and they
Yeah.
could display it
Yeah, it's a
whatever
nice
way they
option.
wanted. Yeah, but I decided in the end. Oh, I think it was like it might have been David that said to me, "But it needs to be grey. The base needs to be like grey stone," which was a very reasonable thing to say because.
David's great about
Um,
giving notes.
yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, the wonderful thing about it is, um, he was right as well. If you go and you look at, most of my memories of the off-world Stargate were on a sort of grey stone base, and so I kind
Right.
of felt it was important to create the second one for you, which
Yeah,
was,
see, that's the problem about being friends with David is he's usually right, and it
it's,
gets pretty annoying.
yeah, it usually is. When we get to the bigger Stargate, I'll tell you an interesting story about how he was able to help me out. But
This looks so good. This is the first time that I've looked at this on screen, and it photographs really well.
yeah, it does actually, and it's got a texture, right? It's actually a physical texture to try and make it feel like more like stone.
Yeah.
So it's actually got a physical texture as well. It's not just a coloration, but which is kind of nice. But I think overall, what it does allow you to display them, depending on your shelf space, it allows you to display them side by side. So if you want to do that, and I've pre-ordered the Universe Gate, and so I
Yep.
will do
That
one
should be
for.
here any day.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. That's October, right?
I
It's
think
been
they were listed as shipping in October, and I haven't gotten a
yeah.
shipping notice yet. But yeah,
No,
I think
me
that's
either.
the next one that we're going to see in the post is the Destiny Gate.
Yeah. And so I'm going to do a base for that, just so that anyone who's collecting this or, downloading them, print them out for their own collection can actually have a third base if they want to. Um, and I
And then
get a
Atlantis.
reference from you on that, actually, on the photos that you and I chatted about from set, so that I can make one of those as well. So I do that. Now, the other thing that I did think about, I was unhappy with the puddle, so I created this, which is
Ooh, that's nice.
just yes. I'm glad you said that because I made you one, and I will get that down to you. It's nothing clever other than the fact it's an insert, a bit like the last one that we have. It just
Okay.
fits snugly into the Stargate. But this is just a picture of the puddle I computer generated myself.
Okay, so it's like a
Um,
CG photo with like a
well,
glossy
it's a
cover.
it's a photo of one that I generated, so I don't know how accurate it is to the show, but it's I made that myself.
It looks,
So
I mean, the nice thing about compared to the one that we just showcased is it looks more screen accurate, right? It looks like there's
yeah,
a wormhole connected to that
yeah,
instead of the kind of light blue glow in the dark has kind of a more of a toy aesthetic.
yeah, yeah. And so I wanted to create it that way. And so when you put it with, I'll just stick that in the stand so that you can see it. If I hold that up to you, you can see that it does make it just look a little bit more authentic. Um,
Yeah,
and it's very simple. It's
that's
not.
perfect.
It's just the screenshot of a. It took me weeks to develop the puddle effect. I think I did it in After Effects or something, but it took a long time to make. But so I just used a screenshot from that, and it's printed at high resolution. So at least it at least it works. And so I've done an extra one for you, so you can stick that into
Oh, that's
your gate as
wonderful.
well if you choose to do so.
I can't
Um,
wait.
it doesn't glow in the dark either, so
Okay. We
less
gotta,
marital
yeah,
trouble. So
whatever we can do to keep the spouses happy.
that's right.
Our spouses
Um,
tolerate a lot.
oh, yeah, my wife is wonderful. She tolerates a huge amount,
Yeah, she's
and is the
fantastic.
unseen creative genius behind some things like sorting out colors and telling me when things are wrong, or maybe if I bring something and say I think this is okay, and she'll just go best we can do. And I just think
Good,
okay, back to the room.
good. Keeps you honest.
Keep it to the computer.
Well,
And
yeah.
the other thing I want to do with Master Replicas is with their Stargate, because I love it so much, is I want to create a diorama, a gate room diorama to go with it. And so I wanted to show you a little bit of how it's going to look. I've only got bits and pieces here. Okay,
Okay.
so bear with me.
I was gonna say
Um,
while you're pulling all that out, once you get to the point where you have a 1-1 Stargate or a
yep,
1-1 scale puddle jumper in your backyard,
wouldn't fit.
we'll
It
see.
wouldn't fit. But a friend of mine has a big enough yard for it. So he may not be my friend after it if I try for you. So yes, I want to put a gate room diorama together. And this gives you a bit of an idea of what it's going to look like. So if I
Okay,
hold that up
that's
there,
yeah,
and
that's
then
a
I
healthy scale.
uh, hold the other wall up there like that, you can. Why is this the reverse to what I think? Okay. You can kind of get
Ooh.
to see a little bit about how that's going to look. Um, the scale is pretty large, and there are lots of other pieces that go around the corner and things like that.
Oh wow.
So, and there are bits, everything has sort of lights and working bits and pieces and what have you. So that has the sort of all the different controls for activating the iris.
So
And
this is gonna be a full scale gate room.
yeah, it's going to be to scale with the master replicas.
Yeah,
So
not full scale, not 1-1, but you're
no,
doing 3 walls or
yeah,
you're doing 4 walls?
I'm doing from the gate room control room round to the other side. So like two, maybe two and a half, 3 walls. It's probably 3 walls in the end. This was done for um, the Diamond Select action figures. This was a diorama piece. I think I posted some photos somewhere on this in the past. So
Yeah.
that was done for
Looks
that,
like the right
and I
scale.
will reuse that because the interesting thing about that is it's literally a 3D print. There is not a single ounce of paint on this. It is literally a 3D print, with the exception of that SGC sticker. Everything is 3D
Wow.
printed. So right off, there's no paint at all. And so I always liked that and thought people would be able to recreate that faithfully without having to, go and study under Picasso or something like that to get the colors right. So I'm going to do that. Oh, and it has other bits and pieces like the control consoles, and they also, do different things and have working lights and
Those can just be
stuff.
freestanding.
Yeah, they're just freestanding,
Cool.
and they go with the wall and stuff like that. So yeah, so I'll probably do something like that as well. And I hope if I get that far, is that I will finally put a UAV in the gate room as well. But I haven't reached that far. I still have to design the Stargate ramp to actually hold the master replica's
Yeah, right.
gate. So I
Well,
still need to do that. It's probably
you did the MALP. You're gonna have to do a UAV at some point.
I have to. I mean, what would people say? I mean, you just have to. And I did do this for you, which is you asked me about this, and it's a little
Oh yeah.
tiny
I wanted
DHD.
a little smaller
Yeah.
DHD. So we'll get to your DHD here in a minute, which I have one of.
So there's one of those there. I will
That's
send that
great.
to you.
So I was looking for a DHD that was scaled to the master replicas models, at least, you know,
Yeah.
relatively close for the naked
It's
eye.
kind of as close as I could get it without. If I made it too much smaller, or it would just be tiny.
Yeah, it'd kind of
So
disappear.
yeah, so it's a little bit of forced perspective when you put it beside it, but it looks okay.
Exactly.
Um, just a little
That's
bit
cool. I'm
bigger.
really excited about that.
Yeah.
We're back in the chat. Killjoy 2051, looking at our puddle jumper, says now we need a scale Atlantis to put the jumper in.
Yeah,
How big your Atlantis is going to fill at least your backyard, at least your property, and your neighbor's
yeah.
property.
I don't even think I have a big enough room to put that in. I did try to scale the puddle jumper down a little bit, but it's designed at a certain scale. You can always go up, but you
Yeah.
can't go down as easily because of all the tolerances and things like that.
You
So
have
you
to
kind of
start removing things from the model. You have
yeah,
to start removing
yeah,
detail to get it to print.
yeah, yeah. And the smaller you go, the less detail often you can represent, which is I think this is why I have so much respect for the good folks out at Master Replicas, because I mean they must have to make a million of these design decisions, right? Because I've heard people say, but they're not all at scale. Well, they can't all be at scale, right? I mean, if they made the ship the scale of the Stargate, it would be insane.
Yeah.
So,
You
I
wouldn't
mean,
want the models to be at scale with each other.
not if you're trying to collect the whole
Yeah.
set as well.
Talk
It's
and an F302.
yeah, you're not going to. All you can do is hope that they're close enough that when you display them side by side, they kind of look similar.
Yeah.
That's all you can really do. Um,
Guys, keep leaving questions for us in the comments and in the chat. RDDVLS says, "Have you ever gifted any of your models to cast members or anyone involved in the show?"
I don't think so. I don't think so. I originally, what I've done is, and we did this at GateCon, where we auctioned off a whole bunch of stuff, and
That's right.
I
You had a
think
life science detector there, didn't you?
I had a life science detector. I had one of the Atlantis door controls. Um, I think I had mimetic imaging devices as well, and we auctioned that off for. I'm going to say it was the BC Children's Hospital, if I remember correctly, um, which was amazing because I remember you auctioned off some really cool books that you had, and I think we raised. I'm going to say like over $40,000 or something. All of us that
Yeah, the
night.
GateCon auctions are always amazing. Folks
Yeah,
come and donate some stuff, right? And it's fans and it's a lot of us collectors who have
yeah,
either have original stuff, or some of the old licensed stuff that's out of print and not available anymore, or right, creatives like you and Remington and Nicole who are producing your own
yeah.
fan props. Those stuff get auctioned off, and yeah, I think well over $30,000 that
Mm.
year
I
for
think
charity.
that's one of the most fun bits of it for me. I thought because people were very generous and it went for $1,000+ or something, and
Yeah.
I was just super appreciative of their generosity and kindness, and it went to surely one of the best causes out there, right? A children's hospital. So I was really grateful for that. But I haven't to answer the question. No, I haven't gifted one. I'd happily make one for someone.
Yeah.
If one of the cast wanted, I'd be delighted to do it. And if you're out there watching and you want one like him, and I'd be delighted to do that. It would be the least I could do to sort of give something back to the cast and crew for all those years of entertainment. I'd be delighted to do it. So
I bet, well, the first person I think of is David Hewlett, who does lots of streaming and is on different podcasts, and I'm sure he would love to have a life science detector or something like that.
yeah, I'd love to, if he's interested. I'd certainly love to hear from him. I'd be happy to make it.
Okay,
So
David, call me.
yeah, that's right. Of course.
Okay, what else do we still have to look at? Is it are we down to the gate and the DHD, or are there any
Yeah, I
last
think so.
pieces?
Yeah, there's lots of other small things, but I don't think we need to go into all that. But
Oh, let's
yeah,
look at the
uh,
let's look at the Atlantis base here before we forget.
oh yeah, right. I've
So here's
forgotten about
Master Replica's Stargate from Atlantis, right? This is the Pegasus Gate. Reviewed this on the channel. I really love this. This
that.
is one of the my favorite models that Master Replicas has put out. But again, they put it out with a gigantic, thick black base that kind of dwarfs the piece.
Mm.
So what would you hope that Martin would produce for this? Well, we all hope and pray. We go to bed and say our prayers at night and pray that please let Martin make something that looks like the Atlantis Gatrium floor. So you've got the floor here, right? And of course, on Atlantis, the Stargate goes straight down into the floor,
Mm.
but then you also have the ancient stairs, right? A little replica. This is obviously inspired by the show. This is not a replica of the gate room because the stairs are facing the gate.
Yeah, that's right.
Uh, but tell us a little bit about this one.
So I originally thought, well, I'll do an off-world gate for this, but then when you look at the show, most of the time the Atlantean or the Pegasus gate's buried in the ground. And I'm thinking, pretty sure was it David told me that it was mostly a visual effect in a lot of the different episodes. So unless I was just going to make a piece of soil that it was stuck into or a bit of
Yeah.
grass, it wasn't going to work.
And it was
And so I
practical
thought,
for the show, right? They
yeah,
did not, unlike SG-1, they did not have a travel Stargate prop.
yeah,
For the first many years of the show, all the shots of the gate that you see are CG. The gate is CG inserted, and there are no close-ups. So watch season 1, season 2, season 3. Every time they come through the gate, you either see the puddle jumper fly through. That's obviously a visual effect. But
Yeah.
even when the team comes through on foot in an episode like Underground when they're visiting the Janai, the Stargate's kind of small and in the distance.
Yeah.
Until we get to season 5, when they had an occasion to build a physical prop. They built a segment of the gate. They built like a third of the gate, so that they could sit on top of it in the shrine when
Oh, that's
they're on
right.
when the
Yeah.
valley is flooded and the team has to sit on top
Yes.
of the Stargate. So they built it for that, and then they started reusing it. So in season 5, you'll see some shots of a practical gate, but it's not the full Stargate. You'll see a corner of it, right, framed in the corner of the shot in an episode
I
like
understand
Identity.
why they did it, but because you don't have the physical asset there, the temptation is there. You don't have any close-up shots, as you say, so you lose a little bit of that. And I think, was it Martin Wood once in an interview? Maybe it was a GateCon. He said, "Well, the show is called Stargate, so there should be a Stargate in it." And I think it would have been nice if they had done a physical prop. So I couldn't do the off-world, and so I looked at the gate room. The gate room, if you look at the Atlantis gate room, it's mostly flat. So it's just sitting in this flat atrium area, and there are some stairs that run off down the side, and then of course there's the stairs that go up, that are leading you up towards Weir's office. And I thought, well, that's what I'll do. I'll make it into like an off-world set of stairs, but I'll theme it so that it has Lantean sort of design themes, and that's where those sort of grey lit bases are, and the ancient writing is on the stairs. So it kind of reminds people of the other side. So it's basically an homage, I beg your pardon, to the original set design, but it isn't. I don't think it was ever featured. There's nothing featured in the show like that, other than when you see the gate room, you see
Yeah.
different bits of that design in it.
Yeah, it's
But
exactly what it should be, which is it's evocative of the Atlantis gate room.
yeah,
And it's the
the
only way
one
that you could do it without, again, just making a flat surface.
yeah, and I just sort of want to avoid that, and I want to keep it at the same scale, so that if you put your two Stargates side by side, that height-wise they were going to be very similar, and so you didn't have this one looking massive and one looking
Good.
small.
That's nice.
Um,
Now, I asked you this in...
Unfortunately, they're not interchangeable though, because the gates are different
The
thicknesses.
gates are different thicknesses, right? So this doesn't work. Wouldn't
No,
it be cool?
you can get the Milky Way one in, but you can't get the Atlantis one in.
Nope.
So you can get the Milky Way in the
Too thick.
Atlantis base, but it's loose, obviously, because it's thicker.
Yeah.
I have no idea why or what the Atlantis gate will be. I'd imagine it will be more like the Atlantis gate. So it'll probably be roughly the same thickness, but I'm waiting for mine to arrive before I
Yeah,
start.
it looks from the photos like it's gonna be like the Pegasus gate.
I think so. And I think eventually we may even see a reissue of the Milky Way gate that's more like the Pegasus
I
gate.
hope so. Yeah.
I hope so too. Because I love them all,
Because
but
this
I
is
think
so
they've done
good.
a especially good job on Atlantis. So I'm hoping that they do that. But in the meantime, at least there'll be a display, and I'll make the one for Universe ideally more like the Destiny gate room as much as possible.
Rather than an
So
off-world
yeah,
platform.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I guess I'll have to work out some way to put in the light at the top and stuff like that. But
Yeah, it's a
you know,
different system. The
yeah,
little glowy ball
yeah,
and
and
the
it
chevron in
turns.
the floor.
Were you saying to be wrestling? It turns the whole gate physically spun on the stage.
Yeah, so this is your challenge, right? Make my model interactive, because on the
Yeah,
show, the entire gate spins as it dials.
spins around. Yeah, that's what I thought. But fear not, I've worked out how to do it. So
Good.
it will
Good.
it will turn. It will turn. The biggest problem is keeping it steady. I'd love to talk to one of the set designers to find out how they did that, because it's big, right? And it's
Yeah.
not. It doesn't have supports hanging off it. So how they, made a structure that's that big spin? And I suspect the answer is there may have been a hidden rail we couldn't see underneath it, a gate, a bit like a third rail. and it went through a groove, but you just couldn't see it because
Yeah,
it was stage floor
my
or something.
imagination. I mean, I had a chance to visit Destiny on the stage. Not talk about the mechanism of it, but my impression of it was that they probably had under the stage floor maybe something on either side,
Mm, yeah,
on sort of the left and the right, front and the back, that would sort of hold the gate in place and had the mechanism to spin it. But
yeah.
yeah,
Ultimately, it had
it's
to
got to
be
be
rolled.
super stable to be able to roll it like that.
It's ambitious, right? You don't want the actors injured, because that thing would have weighed a ton.
Yeah, and you don't want to lose your prop. You don't want your prop to fall
Nope,
over and
not at that money.
well, now we got to
So,
take a week and spend another how many millions of dollars to get it fixed.
and anything electromechanical is always subject to breakdown. So, and I think that's why Atlantis, the sort of glyphs chase themselves around the ring. So I think that's why that happens. But yeah, I think that's why they did it. So yeah, we did those, and then we went to the Stargate. That's probably more recent, and the DHD. So those were I think the two most recent ones that we did. The Stargate is behind me that way. Sorry, camera's in reverse.
We
And
can see
that's
you straight
about.
ahead.
Sorry.
We can see you're seeing your mirrored image, but just so you know, it's going out to the world straight.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, that's a Google Maps
Um,
thing.
it's on one of its many features. So yeah,
Thanks, Google.
designed to make you happy. Yeah, so the Stargate is something that a lot of people have said to me, we've made all these props and things that you really wanted to have in your collection, but where's the Stargate? And I thought, well, lots of people out there have 3D printable Stargates, and they're all pretty awesome, I think. And so I didn't think anyone would want one. But then I thought, but I would like one. And I was doing something for David, and I thought, gee, if I had a CAD model of this would have been a lot easier. And so I decided to build my own Stargate. But I didn't want it too small. I wanted it to be big enough to have presence. And then I wanted it big enough to support electronics. And then I wanted it big enough to have detail, because there's so much detail in there, and because they did such a wonderful job designing that. And so I wanted to add all of that in, and that meant that it was going to be big. And so it's 2.5 feet wide, which is large. You've seen it
Yeah,
yourself. You've lifted it. You sort of know the weight and what have you.
yeah, I should have had my photo ready. I got a picture taken with the Stargate. It's big. It's bigger
It's
than you think it would be.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot bigger than you think it would be. And in fact, I don't know if we can do this on camera. Let me see if I can try this. So if I go, can you still see me over here? Yeah,
Yeah,
you can.
yeah.
So you can see me relative to it. And then if I switch it on, I'll go around here. So if I switch it on, I won't play it through this whole thing. But it's pretty large. So, and then it just goes through and dials all of the chevrons appropriately. And so that took a while to do. The ring doesn't spin. Let me just go over there to leave that there. It can go in the background. It'll turn itself off. Um, so the ring doesn't spin. That's deliberate. It can spin if you put some extra thought into it, but I didn't spin it deliberately because I knew that would mean extra complexity for people to build it.
Yeah.
And the whole design is based on like a giant Lego kit where you can just piece it all together, and it will just go together seamlessly. You don't see any cracks, and hopefully you don't see too many joins, and you just put some pins in and just plug it all together, and away you go. And the manual, there's a pretty detailed manual with it, so you don't have to put electronics in it if you don't want to. That's totally up to you.
And we have to apologize. Unlike Orland's mini Stargate, it does not actually create a wormhole to
No,
another planet,
no. Although
just for
depending
entertainment
on,
purposes only.
yeah, unfortunately, there are days you'd really want to jump through. So, Yeah, so it's so it has that, and so many people have made it. So many people have made it and posted pictures. And if
Yeah.
you go to makerworld.com or printables, people have posted all their pictures. And I love the creativity and I love the energy. And one person connected it to the internet and it does all sorts of
Really?
different things. Yeah, and gave it a whole web interface and did a whole bunch of things. And one very kind person made, because it was designed to go on the wall, it was always designed to go on the wall, and made some like gate room hooks where you can hang it on the wall, and you can download this for free on printables.com, I think it is. There's links in there, and so you can hang it on the wall. So which is really, it's always lovely to see people add onto it and make it better, or maybe identify something they didn't like and fix it. That's always the real bonus. And some people have said to me, well, doesn't it bother you that people will go and add something else to the design? No, I'm delighted by it. If somebody's inspired enough to take their precious time and to sit down and do that, then I'm delighted. It's that whole thing that you're only ever better when you work with other people and
Yeah.
you get other people's ideas and stuff like that. So I'm delighted by it.
And then
And
we
then
have
there's
and then we
DHD.
have this beauty. This is the latest addition to the GateWorld collection, courtesy of Martin. The DHD is beautiful.
Thank you.
It's so cool. I had it on display when I first got it down in the living room, and of course, like my kids walk in the door, it's the first thing they comment on. It's a DHD.
It's
It's so
it's
iconically SG-1.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And it's a really, really weird design to do. It's especially the pedestal. The pedestal's a strange shape, and
Yeah.
so there's two versions. There's an electronic version and there's a static version. But there's a lot of weird shapes and strange design bits and pieces that go into it. The painting was the biggest problem, trying to get the that sort of scorched copper gold type weathering into it and make it look, like
Yeah.
it's been there for a while,
You
but
can
not
see it in
make
the
it so many
grooves.
yellow lines. Yeah, those yellow lines were painful for a lot of
And then
reasons.
all the symbols, these
Yeah.
are this whole thing was printed as a separate piece in this sort of clear white.
Yes. So it's all clear plastic, and then it's got little tiles over the top that are the same shape as the symbols, and they have all that multicolored
Okay, so
speckling.
you have the base piece,
Yep.
and then you have the symbol piece,
Hmm.
which is
There are two
all
rings.
white and
Yeah.
clear, right? Two rings,
Yep.
inner and outer, and then on each individual symbol, you have a nice kind of copper weathered looking tile.
Yep. It's
And
got
these are
like
all cut to fit together.
yeah, yeah. They're all cut out to go like that. So there's quite a few of those, and people can download this as well for free and build it. And several people already have and posted some pictures, which was awesome. They've done great jobs at it as well. Somebody lit it as well. Somebody posted a picture on Facebook and had lit it up somehow internally as well. Because there are two different versions. There's an electronic version and there's that version, right? The electronic version, the reason it's not out there is it's not really finished. It's finished in that I have working. This one up here works. In
Okay,
fact,
let's demo the working one because this is the big climax of the live stream.
yeah.
Because you
So
gave me a
this,
static one, which is wonderful for display, but as folks might have seen on social media, you built a hero that
yeah,
dials.
yeah. So it has a different light up keys and stuff on it, and I'll see if I can get this. There we go. This is probably best in here that I can see around to what I'm doing. And then we have some at the top as well. We've got different symbols just like the show. And then you can choose that if I can find the ones that I want. Where is it? And then we go. Try to remember the address. Let's see. I'll give you the basic. Oh yes. So we have those. You can choose your address that you want to go to, and then So it will take you there. Now there is the nice thing about this one is it's designed to work with the Stargate, and so eventually this will sort of, like the show, it will time out. And on the back there's an infrared transmitter just up here, and that communicates with the Stargate. So as you dial the different sequences in, then the chevrons will light up and what have you. Again, it's USB-C. You want to reprogram it or whatever, you just plug in to that on the base. So
You're still working
yeah,
on the infrared transmitter, is that right? So it's not dialing the gate
yeah,
yet.
it's working, but I didn't dare do a live stream of it because the code's not quite finished yet. But it works, and so there's a small infrared light or receiver, I beg your pardon, built into the gate, and it will just pick it up.
And the chevrons will light up as you dial.
Yes, as you dial. Yeah. So what I need to do is customize the circuit board for inside so that all the keys operate correctly and stuff like that. But then I have to send that off to be produced because I don't have the ability here to make a double-sided printed circuit board. I can design it, but then I'll have to send it off to somebody who's doing it. There's somebody in France who's doing it at the moment. If you're on Facebook, I think it's called the ANT replicas, and he's doing one. I had a brief conversation with him recently. I assume it's a he. I'm sorry if it's not. I assume it is, and he's done a great job on that. He's posts occasional pictures. So, but he's made a printed circuit board, and eventually I will have to do that for this one as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it keeps me out of trouble.
Let me spill your secret. So you made your DHD so that there's one dialable address, right? There are 7 keys that work. And why
Yes,
is that?
because of the complexity of the circuit board, there's too much wiring and things to support the lights and the switches. So it needs a printed circuit board to go inside. And it always needed that, but I just didn't have the time to sit down and design the full circuit board. I designed the model so that it just fits straight in because I knew it was coming, but it's not there yet. So when I've done that, eventually, then I'll just publish that and people can make the electronic version. The problem with that is they don't have the circuit board, which means I'd have to make circuit boards for them. So unless I could give them the design and they could send it away or something like that, I don't know. But it's a bit more difficult to do that one than it was with, say, Puddle Jumper and stuff. There's a limit here of scale. And, obviously it's a personal use item, but yeah.
And when you're dialing, there's a cheat so that you know which buttons to push.
There is a cheat. There is a, I don't know whether you can see this. There is, if you look closely enough, there will be, you can't really see it, but there's like a little tiny green dot. There's like a little raised nodule on the key, and it blends in beautifully with the key. But if you're one of these people that's looking for which address to dial, then, and you can't always remember ancient like me, then there's a little dot on the end. You can light it up as you go and go around and pick all the different keys and what have you. So that makes it easy. So you don't have to read ancient and understand all of those gate symbols to dial it up. So there are 7 working keys on it, which means it's a permutation 7 number of addresses. So you can dial quite a few different addresses, but all the other keys are just there like yours for show.
It's so cool. And I told you so here's my dream fantasy. You've got yours connected to your Stargate model. What I would love with a working DHD is if I could set up the infrared or Bluetooth or whatever the tech is to connect to my Plex server
Oh,
on
yes.
my TV, then I want to have a little booklet next to me on the couch where I can open it up and look up the address to dial for a certain episode.
That's
So,
cool.
right, if I want to watch the Knox,
Yeah.
I have to look it up and dial the symbols for that episode and push the button, and then the Knox will start playing on my Plex server.
That would be cool. This one currently can turn the TV off and on because it's just an infrared signal, right? So what you're saying is absolutely possible. I mean, you can certainly do it.
It's so cool.
maybe someone out there will go, I'll do it, and we'll create it. Yeah, but yeah, I would love to have made it Bluetooth, but in the end, it's more challenging with Bluetooth to set it up and to keep it working. And whereas infrared, it's tried and true.
Yeah.
It's old tech, but it works.
It
So
just
yeah,
goes to show what the love of Stargate can do, and a little creativity and a little know-how. I
yeah,
love these projects so much, right? Not just that you've made something that makes my master replica Stargate displays look better, but that you've got these right interactive models that's lights and sounds and wiring, and that those are available for people to
yeah,
access and to do themselves as their own weekend project. Again,
yeah.
if you're interested in looking at more of Martin's stuff and learning more about it, gatebuilder.tech is the site that you want to go to. It's linked in the video description. Do we have anything else that we missed?
I don't think so.
It's 4 o'clock. I want to let you go. Anybody
I
else
think.
in the chat have any nagging questions here?
Oh, there's one other thing before I go.
Yeah.
This is cool. This is a piece of the Stargate that you see behind me. This is part of the structural ring that goes in the middle. There's like, imagine the ring's actually 3 rings. And somebody asked me, could you scale it? And I said, yes, but they didn't believe me. But look, you can. And
Yeah.
it works quite well. So, and then you can continue to go bigger and bigger and bigger. So it does work. So can you imagine how big it would be if you started printing? This is just one little segment. There's like 9 of these. I think, yeah, that'd be perfect for David's house. But he has no room, and I told him to get another room in his house. But I don't think he wanted to do that. So anyway, so it scales. So if anyone out there,
Yeah.
somebody contacted me and said they want to do it the size of their entire lounge room because they're building a home theater. I thought, send me a picture of that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know whether they'll do it, but they're in for a long print. I would say if they want to do something like that. But yeah, so it's interesting. People do interesting things with it, and then hopefully, at the end of the day, what I'm hoping is somebody looks at this and goes, "Oh, go get a license and manufactures it properly." And the best thing they could ever do for me is give me back free time. So I'm happy to buy it. I'm happy to buy it. Just make it. I'll buy it. So that saved me all this trouble.
Yeah. Next
But
up, these master replica gates are so nice. Let's convince them to make something that's like a, I don't know, a
yeah.
1/6 scale maybe.
Oh yeah, yeah. I would love them to do that. I'd love them to do a Zat. Um, I didn't know they were making the Zat that you just said earlier about. I had no
Yeah,
idea.
Hollywood Collectibles Group put that out. I haven't published the news story on it yet, but Hollywood Collectibles has a pre-order for Q1 of 2026, a full-size staff weapon and Zat gun.
And
Uh,
is it electronic or is it sort of
it's not
just
electronic, no. It's a fixed
right,
display piece.
right?
Master Replicas also has props as part of their license, and they announced a couple years ago that they were going to be doing some Stargate props,
Oh
but
yeah, that'd be great.
I suppose nothing's come out yet. Yeah, we just have the
Yeah.
ships in the gate so far.
Well, it takes time, to do that. So I hope they do. That'll be exciting. I'll be first in line for pre-order there.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Okay, chat. One more question from Killjoy. Martin, do you have your own Atlantis model ready to display? Are you going to take on
No,
Atlantis at some point?
I'm tempted. I got the tape measure out and worked out how big it would be, and it's like as big as the table, and thought, where would I put that? I mean, it's like, I could really just go to my wife and say, hey, where are we going to put this? And there's nowhere. My house is not big enough. So,
So is it feasible to start with a size and say, okay, I want to do an Atlantis that's 24 inches across. What kind of detail can I execute?
yeah, the detail's the problem, right? Because you could do it resin if you want to print it in resin, and you can certainly do that. And there are people out there who've done Atlantis models. If you go out on printables.com, there's a Stargate Atlantis. I think there's a gentleman by the name of Martin Tiacci. I hope I've pronounced his name right. That has done that. And he's done a fantastic job. It's big. So that's probably so that is available. He very generously made that free as well, and along with a lot of his other models. And so you could go there and have a look at that, and that's a wonderful job. But I haven't done one. I don't have plans to do one because it's so big. And I think if I took your advice and I went say 24 or even 36 inches or something, um, I mean it's a really detailed model. When they built that for television, I remember how many thousand polygons that thing was, and it was for television in those days. That was a lot. It was a movie type design for a television budget. So I don't know. Depends.
Yeah.
It gets so thin because the spires are all so many spires and propping out of the city, and it's very difficult to print very strong things that are that thin.
Yeah, that's
Um,
kind of what I'm thinking, right? Because you could do a bunch of buildings like Manhattan, kind of all close together, and they're
mm,
right relatively detailed with some windows and some
yeah,
edges. But when you look at the number of thin little pointy spires in Atlantis, you start to
yeah.
see the challenge.
I mean, the model that's on printables is impressive and has done a great job of it. I think if I did it, I would want to wire it all up with fiber optic,
Of course.
and that's that. Yeah, if it's worth overdoing, it's worth overdoing.
Yeah,
So
make it an internet hub.
yeah, there would be yeah, turn the power on and the local power company dips. So I think it would be quite a lot of wires, but and so that's why I haven't done it. I mean, even the Stargate's big, so just that's going to go on the wall. So I made a stand for people um, in case they got desperate and decided they couldn't put it on the wall and they wanted to put it on a table. So there's a stand. It's probably not the world's greatest stand. Hopefully someone will do a better one, but it's at least it works. And because the stand itself is pretty big, so it's like two big blocks that go in on it. So at least they can do that. But as I say, other people have done wall mounts, and I'm certainly going to print theirs out and hang it on the wall.
Yeah, I
Uh,
like that. The
I
the
really hope
the
that they
red
structurally made
clamps
it
from the
good.
SGC.
Yeah, yeah, it's a nice touch.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that. But yeah, I'll use theirs. Save my with very kind appreciation. I will use theirs and hang it on the wall.
Killjoy says time to build a new room. Sheezy45, what address does your DHD dial?
None in particular. I just chose a random address. It's based on Abydos, but it's not quite Abydos. So it has one glyph that's not exactly right. That was a mistake on my part. But yeah, but so it doesn't dial a specific one. Although you can mix and match those 7 symbols to form multitudes of addresses. So if you want, but yeah, so it doesn't do that. Unfortunately, it can't do everything.
It's
Unfortunately.
it's so incredible though. And I know as a creative you always have to put up with the but it doesn't do this or but you forgot this or but this is not quite right. And
Yeah,
that's
obviously,
I
that's what I was going to tell you about the Stargate. That's the chevrons on the front are like a transparent material, right? So they light up. The ones on the back don't. It's in the manual because I had originally created it with transparent ones on both sides because I was sure I had seen it that way. And so I couldn't work it out. So eventually I called David up and said, David, have a look at this picture. And he goes, oh, it's really cool. But why have the lights wrong on the back? And I
mm,
said, what? And he said, I said, are you sure that they're all grey on the back? Because the gate is very different on the back. It's got a different design, different detail. And I said, are you sure they're solid grey and not like transparent? And he said, well, I looked at it for 9 months straight. I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
And so I thought, you know what? That's good enough for me. So
Yeah, and that's one nitpick about the Master Replicas gate, right? So there's the front.
yeah.
It's got the red crystal jewels, and the back should not be red. I think the back should be gray.
No, it should be grey. David was right. I mean, I went and checked. I don't know why I checked. Of course he's going to be right. It was waste of my time to check. Of course he's going to be right. And he was.
Hey, but
Um,
double check
uh,
because every once in a while you can get David, and it's fun when you get him.
yeah, but you know what? This wasn't one of those
No.
times. It was a humble pie moment. I thought, oh, no, now I have to go back and change this. And so I had built some of it and had to go back and take it all out and change it all over to because I knew somebody, if David said it, somebody was going to say it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
you know,
I think it comes from a place of love. People
yeah.
who
Oh,
critique our work.
absolutely, it
I
does.
see it on GateWorld all the time. People are like, "Hey, you got this detail wrong." Sam had already been promoted by the time she went to Atlantis,
Yeah,
and I got this video up on YouTube now from I don't know how many years ago where I made that mistake, and I still see people come along and post the comment again. You got that one wrong. Yes, I did. Thank you for telling me again.
yeah,
It comes
yeah.
from a place of love. We love the show. We love our details.
I love it because people cared enough to reach out and say it. And so that's the really nice thing. I mean, it's interaction, it's engagement, and that's part of the joy of this. So I'm always happy to find that I've done something wrong. Or I'm always disappointed to find I've done something wrong, but I'm also very happy to go, oh, okay, I can fix that, and usually do if I can. And in the case of this, it was I looked at it and thought, "Oh, I've got to go back and fix it because
Yeah,
it's wrong, and it's just one of
and
those
that's gonna
things
bug
that
you.
it's if it's big enough, yes, I know there are aberrations in my DHD design, so it's as close as I could make it. But there are aberrations that I know about. Um, but it doesn't take away from the aesthetic of the model, and people can still enjoy it. But if it's something like that where it would have been really wrong, I just think, well, you've got to fix it, right? There are some things you can't let go through. So yeah, so hopefully that, when somebody, and I put it in the manual, because I knew someone would do exactly the same thing as me and print out too many transparent ones and waste their material.
Yeah,
So as long as they read the manual,
yeah,
this will be fine. As
and
long
the
as they do that.
product is better for it.
Oh, with a gate, you need to read the manual. So it's not long.
Martin, thank you so much for
You're
your
very
time, for walking us through your work, for everything that you've done over the years, for all the stuff that you've done for GateWorld. I'm going to display this stuff as much as possible in the background.
Well,
And
thank you very
yeah,
much. And thank you for all the stuff. You've been doing GateWorld for like 20 plus years.
26.
That's insanely dedicated. I don't know where we'd be without you. There'd be no home for the posters to be downloaded. There'd be no nothing. So uh, I'm delighted to do whatever I can to support what you're doing. So you do a lot of great stuff, genuinely a lot of great stuff. And we wouldn't have anywhere without it. There's nowhere else. So it's I'm hoping MGM comes along and says, I want to make another Stargate show, and they hire you as a creative consultant.
Hey, wouldn't that
That
be cool?
wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
That'd be great. So if
Well,
you're
it'd
out
be
there, Amazon, give
any
the
kind
man a
of I'm looking for any kind of sign from the studio that they want a connection to the past. They
yeah.
want they want to respect what's come before. Whatever shape
I
that
think
takes.
I think it would be insane not to do that. Insane. I mean, if you think you can just reboot something and ignore 20 plus years of legacy and content created, what a disservice, not only to Brad Wright and all the work that the actors and cast and crew created, but just, I mean, it's disrespectful not to acknowledge that. So, I mean, you can still go do something new, and that's welcome, and that'd be awesome. But it's got to have a link. It has to have a link. And we've seen how powerful that was when they did things like Deep Space Nine in Star Trek, and they were able to have time travel episodes back to the original series and do all those amazing things that just brought the whole universe together.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, no one's asking me, but if you're out there, Amazon, respect the canon. You can still do new things. So yeah,
Hey, and this stuff exists because there are Stargate fans who love it, who still love the
yeah,
show, who
yeah,
still are finding joy and finding community in it.
yeah.
Martin, thank you again for being here.
So,
Thank you to everybody in the chat. We see your comments. Keep leaving them, post comments on the video. Thank you again to Anthony Rawling for being here to help moderate. Thank you to our channel members. If you're interested in joining GateWorld as a channel member, look for the join button. You'll get to see some videos early. There's other little perks there. Come and be a part of the community. Thank you to everybody for your support, for all that you do, especially to our patrons. Our patrons right now are Nudist Publishing, Martin Zokor. We love Martin. And, oh, we love both of you, but Martin is another content creator. Thank you to our anonymous patron whose name I always leave out because when I look at my member list, it says this channel has been deleted. So thank you to this channel has been deleted for being a patron of GateWorld.
Indeed.
we're we're gonna keep doing live streams. I've got some folks that I want to contact, but if there are other people that you want to see on here now, you can probably tell if you've started to pay attention to these new live streams, which I want to do about twice a month, every other Friday. If you've started paying attention to what we do, you know that I want to talk to other fans. I want this to be a kind of a casual hangout for us to, talk with chat, enjoy Stargate together, talk with fans. So I'm not necessarily looking to do cast or crew interviews in this live stream space per se. David's got that fully covered on Dial the Gate. Although we do have some interviews coming up that I'm hoping are gonna still work out. More on that later. I want to find out if the interview is actually going to happen. But if you've got ideas for people that you want us to hang out with on a Friday, shoot me an email, leave it in the comments, and let me know. Other content creators, people on YouTube, people in the sort of physical prop making creative space like Martin. Maybe we can get Remy and Nicole to
Oh, that'd
come
be
on.
wonderful.
That would be
Yeah,
fun hang.
that would be.
Yeah, and then of course
Yes.
David, we're gonna get David Reed back on here for a live stream and chat about season 5 of Dial the Gate, which is going to be wrapping up here in the near term. So if you have any other ideas for folks you want to hang out with particularly in the Stargate fan community, let me know. Otherwise, yeah, thanks again everybody for being here. Thanks for all your support, and Martin, keep it up. What's next? Do you know what the project is next?
Um,
Once the infrared wiring for the DHD is done?
Once it's working, probably a lot of people have been asking me, could I make an Atlantis ring for the Stargate so they could turn it into an Atlantis Stargate? So probably that.
An
Once I do the
Atlantis
master
ring?
registers, yeah, the internal ring is really one of the biggest differences between the Pegasus and the Milky Way gate. So they want to be able to just put an Atlantis ring in there
For
instead of
the
the
Stargate that's behind you?
yeah, for this one, for the big one,
So you
and
can
then
use
they
all
can
the
just
same
yeah,
pieces and then what?
yeah,
Print
it'll
the
be
chevrons
all
in
the
blue?
same. Yeah, in fact, the tidbit here is it started off as an Atlantis Stargate, and then I went back and made it an
Oh,
SG-1
I did not
version,
know that.
and so it's designed to be an Atlantis one. So it looks the same. In fact, purists might find a few differences, coloring and weathering and stuff like that. It's painted differently, but it's essentially the same gate, but it's got a different ring, and it's designed internally to support the electronics already for the Atlantis gate, but it needs the ring, and so I promised folks I'd do that. So I'm going to go back and do that and
Very
publish that.
nice. So the model's
Yes.
going to be flexible.
The model is flexible. You
You
just
can make
print
it either
different
way.
colors, chevron pieces, and different painting scheme, and
Very cool.
has a different ring. But it's designed to all just slot together. So
And
there we go.
if you want to light the Atlantis symbol
Yeah,
path, that's got to be its own light kit, right?
yeah, it's its own one, but it's incredibly easy to do because that's strange. It's easier to do. It's designed with a channel underneath it, so you can put all your wiring in. So, and the pieces will be designed so that if you light it from the back, you can see the symbol, the constellations light up without it coming through the rest of the material. So it should look really good, I think,
Cool.
when it's done. And
Excellent.
so, and remember, you can always go big if you're
You can always go big
if you're
if you've
so
got the room for it.
inclined, if you've got the space, you can go big.
And if you
But yeah,
have
so that
tolerance from your spouse or your significant other or your parents, as the
and a
case may
lot of
be.
space, and a lot of space. Yeah.
All right, guys, look for Martin on Twitter and social media at SGA Gatebuilder and head over to his website at gatebuilder.tech. Links in the description above. Thanks again, everybody. That's it. We'll see you next time. I'm hoping
See you.
that, again, every other Friday, so U.S. Thanksgiving will fall in between a couple of our live streams. So we'll see if we can get something scheduled for 2 weeks and then have Thanksgiving off. And then 2 weeks after that, early part of December. I think we can maybe get 3 more shows in by the end of the year. But stay tuned. We'll do announcements across all of our social channels and here on YouTube. So thank you again. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.